Alright guys, so if you always like the look of the Grand Seiko GMTs, but you just don't have that kind of money, or you're just not willing to spend that kind of money on a watch, you're after a budget alternative that's got a similar kind of look, well, if that's the case, then this might be the watch for you. So this is the WM watch, WM193. So I've checked out quite a few watches from WM, some of which I've got in the watch roll down here, so if you want to check them out, I'll leave a link to the playlist up in the top and also down in the description. So this is everything you get in the package. So you get that watch roll, link removal tool, and obviously the watch. So where does it rank compared to those previous watches I've checked out from the brand, as well as is it a good budget alternative to the Grand Seiko GMT? So let's get all this out of the way and find out. And here it is. So I think it's a really smart looking piece. I absolutely love that sunburst on the dial. And they do actually do a few different colours with this one. So they do this blue that I've got here. They also do a green and a black. And as always, the link is down in the description. But now let's check out the dimensions. So we've got a diameter of 40.5, thickness of 12.1, lug width of 20, then the all-important lug to lug is coming at 48mm, but we do actually have male end links on this. But you can see they do drop down pretty quickly and more or less in line with the case. So the effective lug to lug is more like 51, but it does wear better than that would suggest, which I'll obviously show you in a bit. When it comes to the weight, on the supply bracelet with all the links included, it's coming at 156 grams, and then size my 7-inch wrist, about 146. So I'll quickly show you the bracelet now, starting with the clasp. We've got that WM branded on there. And then take a look at the side, we've got plenty of micro adjust, double pushes, milled clasp. And then you can see we have actually got a display case back on this. Personally I wouldn't have bothered, because it's not the best looking of movements, the NH34. Nice solid case back with a nice design on, I think would have been better. And then we've got the usual kind of specs, so automatic movement, water resistance, 100 meters, and the fact that it's stainless steel. Moving on to the bracelet itself, we've got a fairly basic finish. It's fully brushed, no polishing at all, not even on the sides, but it's done pretty well, no sharp edges. And then we have actually got push pins on the bracelet as well. Now moving on to the head of the watch, you can see we've got fully polished sides there, so that will gather little scratches and obviously fingerprints too. And we've also got that signed WM crown. And then when it comes to the top of those lugs, they're actually brushed. And then you can see we have actually got a nice polished chamfered edge around the bottom of that bezel, as well as that polished section just above the end link. But now let's get on to the best part of this watch, and that's the dial. So as I said earlier, you've got that really lovely sunburst. That's the first thing that jumps out to you. And then we have actually got applied indices and applied logo, which is nice to see. I always appreciate a nice logo instead of just the brand name. I think it just gives it a more classy look. And then we've got that date window at the 4 o'clock with the frame around it and also the truncated index. And then the only other thing on the dial is the text down at the bottom, the GMT in red and automatic just below that. It is interesting though with the indices that they've only loomed the 12, 3, 6 and 9 and only the tips them as well. And we will be checking that lume in a bit. In terms of the hands, got nice proportions on all of them, no issues with that. But then one odd thing we have got is the chapter ring. So it's actually two-tone, but for some reason they've actually done it where the dividing section isn't actually in the middle. Not entirely sure why they've done that, but it is a little bit strange. And especially considering we have actually got a fixed bezel, which has also got the markings on as well, so you don't really need both. Luckily though, when you're wearing the watch, you don't really notice the chapter ring at all, because it is quite steep. But apart from that, overall, I'm pretty happy with the dial. But now let's check, have we actually got sapphire crystal on this or not? Using the trusty diamond selector too. So we'll start with the front, and yep, we've got sapphire crystal there. Now flicking around to the back, and unsurprisingly, that is just mineral. So now I'll show you the movement in action. So if we pop out the crown, it's just a push-pull crown to the first position. And then we can change the date. And if we pop it out to the second position, second hand stops, we got hacking. And obviously we can just change the time, and that GMT hand will move with them. And then pop it back in, second hand re-engages. Oh, forgot to show you the GMT hand actually moving independently, back to the first position. So again, change the date, turn it the other way, move the GMT hand. All works well, no issues at all, as you'd expect with the NH34. The only slight issue I do have is the crown is a little on the small side, and with that lug there, it's slightly awkward really. But because it's just a push-pull crown, it's not too big a deal. But now it's time to check out whether the lume on this is any good or not. So got a little bit there already, but let's charge it up, give it a proper chance. And there we go. So as I said, we've only got Lume on the 3, 6, 9 and 12. And again, only on the end of those indices, not the full index actually loomed, which is slightly odd. We've got Lume on that GMT hand as well, so you can use that. And then obviously on the hands. So the hands are looking quite a bit brighter than the indices at the moment. So according to the listing, we've actually got C1 on this, not C3. So that's probably not going to be as bright or last as long. But there's only one way to find out, so let's speed this up now and see if that's the case. So, to begin with, not too bad, but you will see that those indices do start to fade quicker than the hands, which is to be expected because they just weren't as bright to begin with. In terms of the hands themselves, they do hang on a little bit longer, but they're still not great. I don't think it would have cost them that much more to use C3, considering we've only got on the tips of those 12, 3, 6 and 9 indexes, and also obviously the hands. But let me know, what do you think? So, all that's left to do now is show you what it's like on wrist, go over the pros and cons, and then we can wrap this up. And here it is on my 7-inch wrist. So, I do think it looks really good. As I said, I love that sunburst dial. Really does play with the light nicely. It's nice and legible as well, and that pop of red on that GMT hand just breaks it up a bit. In terms of the fit, you get the perfect fit without plenty of micro adjusts, so that's not an issue. And you can see, despite those male end lengths, because they do curve down pretty quickly, it conforms to my wrist quite nicely, and doesn't look too big, despite that end length to end length measurement being above 50mm. When it comes to the issues I have with this, there's only a couple, you probably know what they are already. First of all, they need to improve that lume. Just make it C3. You've only got it on a few spots on the dial, so it wouldn't cost that much more. Secondly, get rid of that display case back. The NH34 is not a good looking movement. Just give me a nice solid case back with a nice design on there. Or even just a nice embossed one with the logo. I would like to maybe see them just make that crown slightly bigger maybe, just so it doesn't interfere as much with that lug. Because it's a little bit fiddly sometimes. But thankfully it's not a screw down crown, so it's not a massive issue. It's just something to be aware of more than anything. But that is pretty much it when it comes to the issues. You could say that the finishing isn't the best quality. Perhaps they could sharpen up the transitions between the polishing and brushing on a few bits. I'm not saying it's bad by any means, but it could be improved maybe. But getting back to the question I posed at the beginning of the video, is this a good budget alternative to the Grand Seiko GMT? I think they've pretty much nailed the look of it. As I say, a few little things could maybe be tweaked. It's a smart looking piece, but it doesn't really grab me. But if it does grab you, don't forget to use that link in the description. That is an affiliate link. It does help support the channel, but you don't pay any extra. And if you want to see a watch that I've reviewed of theirs previously that I do really like and does grab my attention, then check out this video here. But that's it for this one guys, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.